Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Taylor Zansberg here with me. She's a digital marketing strategist, she's a content producer. Um, I love the words that she uses to describe herself as funky and innovative, and I'm so excited to have Taylor here with me today so we can hop into her world and her mind. So, Taylor, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I want to go ahead and hop into your marketing mind. And there are so many, like I said, funky and innovative are just a couple ways you use to describe yourself. But one of the other words that I loved was ultimate matchmaker. And when doing my research on you, like bringing people, brands, and opportunities together, I just want to dive in and from a marketing perspective, how you approach those different categories and what your approach and process looks like.
It's hard to describe. I guess I'm going to start with like something that I did this past weekend, which was I invited a bunch of women to my apartment that I barely knew. I met each of them in different contexts. None of them knew each other, and I invited them all to my house. And the whole time they were like, "What was the criteria for getting invited?" Because like I BCC'd everyone. Which made it intriguing, but I was like, really, I'm just trying to protect your privacy because none of you know each other. I don't really know you guys
Right.
that well. And it was really cute because they were like, well, what was the criteria? And I was like, I don't know. And like the first thing that came to mind was like the vibes, which sounds like, I don't know, like maybe a little hokey, but I was like, literally, it was the vibes. Like I got a vibe from you and like the way we connected and the way we were able to like, not banter, but like talk
Right.
back and forth and they each one was more interesting than the next. And like I kind of gave intros and then people found things they had in common. So that's like one thing. Um, and then I guess it's just like being authentic and genuine, which is something I like pride myself on, but like I open up to people and then they seem to be comfortable opening up to me. So I learn things that maybe they don't ordinarily share with someone. And then that helps get my brain going of like, oh, this person, like another example is a friend of mine that I met in Lucknow, India in 2012. We were volunteering together for 6 weeks. He now lives in Mumbai. He
Okay.
was in New York for a couple days. We hung out. And then that night I got home and this guy that I know from 2014, who used to be a former executive of MTV, posted that he was in Lucknow and that
Okay.
he's from Lucknow. And I was like, oh my God. And my friend happens to be running a startup out of Mumbai. And I was like, this guy is like uniquely positioned to introduce him to people that could help what he's trying to do. Even though it seems on the surface like they're doing completely different things. Like he's in music, my friend's doing like more like social impact and
Yeah.
like uh international development work. I'm like, no, there's like a connection. And so I connected them. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm very passionate about it.
I love that. I love that because I think community as we get older is taken granted for, and whether it's that simple connection or something like you were talking about, the first example of bringing together women in your apartment, like there's connections all over the place, and I think community is something that can never be taken granted for. But I love that you do that and you have those connections all over the place.
Yeah.
I want to start from your very beginning and how you got into marketing to begin with, because what I loved about some of the things that you've done, you've covered the Tony Awards from the red carpet, you've launched the Durham Performing Arts podcast, which was 12 episodes, backstage, but you've done so many, like, I hate to say the word cool, but so many cool things. How did you get into this creativity marketing world?
So honestly, I fell into it, but I'll explain. So I went to like a very competitive high school where everything was chosen for me. So then when I went to college, I didn't realize that I was looking for something completely different, but I ended up doing something completely different. I went to Sarah Lawrence, which was very progressive and liberal. You could study whatever you wanted. There were no general education requirements. So I did that. I studied everything. I took the Hebrew Bible my freshman year. I read the entire Bible. I took philosophy, psychology, biology, neuroscience, screenwriting, jazz music, like you name it, I did it. I farmed one summer. I worked at a fashion industry, like in their production, like where, like in their like factory one summer. So I'll just say I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I just knew I wanted to learn, and that was a great place to do it. And then I think the biggest thing Sarah Lawrence taught me was like critical thinking and being resourceful. So like if there was something I didn't know, they really taught me to like do the research and figure it out. And so I wasn't trying to do digital marketing. My senior year in college, I was like, oh God, now what? Like I didn't have a plan. And like when I went into college, I thought I wanted to be a singer or a doctor.
Okay.
And so I was going to take biology and voice to figure out which one I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think that I didn't do either my freshman year because biology got registered like overbooked, and so it wasn't based on merit or anything. It just got overbooked and over registered, so I didn't get into that. And then I was too nervous to try out to sing,
Yeah.
which was silly because it wasn't about how good you were or anything. It was like just to pair you with a teacher that like would be good for you. Anyways, junior year, I lived those dreams. I took biology. I was in a jazz band, but then I realized like just from biology, like I didn't really love sciences. And I was like, I think you kind of have to love science to do medicine in some capacity. Um, and so then yeah, I just kept studying different things that interested me. I love writing. And then my senior year of college, I got on Twitter because I thought it was really stupid. I just was like, this is dumb. Like, why are people posting random stuff like I don't care about? But I was like, let me just see. And then I was like, oh wow, this is actually at the time, it's changed obviously now, but it was a very powerful tool. It still is, but in different ways. But I used it to network, and I used it to like kind of stalk people that I loved and find out where they were giving talks and like go to those talks and meet them. And then a lot of opportunities for me came through Twitter. So one was I like fell into a Twitter chat, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. Basically, it's like a hashtag where people are commenting on a hashtag. And there was one that I fell into about like creative careers and like creatives. And it was at the time a company called FindSpark, and they were hiring interns. And I ended up getting an internship with them in social media and like events marketing and community outreach. Um, and so that was like my first jump into the world of digital marketing. And like I really credit Emily Mithner, the founder of that company, who at the time I think was like 26 or 27, with like training me to do what I do now. It's evolved what I do now, but like she gave me a good foundation. And then another thing that happened from Twitter was I posted my Tumblr link, which also shows you how long ago it was. I had a Tumblr at the time called My Musings on the Post-Grad Struggle.
Okay.
Basically, I was just very discouraged. Like I was applying for lots of jobs and not getting anywhere. And like I kept like applying for entry level jobs and then being like, you need more experience. And I'm like, it's an entry level job. Like, how can I get more experience if you don't? And I did internships, so it wasn't like I didn't have experience. But anyways, I posted this Tumblr, which was basically just a place for me to post inspiration. Like I did like kind of, I'm known for like cheesy quotes, but I love like inspirational quotes.
Yes.
So I would post like graphics with that. I also interviewed some people that were post grads about like their journey and how they did it. I shared like some of the stuff I was doing. Like, so it was a little bit of portfolio. So like I was volunteering at this organization I was obsessed with called DoSomething.org. Anyways, I linked my Tumblr. The next day, literally, this guy messaged me on Twitter and was like, hey, where in the world are you? I have a job for you. Or like, I saw your Tumblr and it really resonated. It was something about my Tumblr. And I was like, what? I was like, this is spam. But I responded because I was like, whatever. And it was real. And it was a guy in Baltimore that was running a company called Talking Good, which I also don't think exists anymore, but they were a PR company, but PR to them stood for public recognition.
Okay.
Public recognition. And they publicly recognized citizen philanthropists.
Okay. Okay.
It was really cool. So I got to like write and do stories on like ordinary people that were just doing amazing things in their community or in the world, and like weren't really getting recognized for like the everyday things they were doing. And like really one was more impressive than the next. So that was my start. Then I had 2 years where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I like nannied and I worked at retail, and I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And basically I wanted to be in New York. That's all I knew.
Okay.
And I was nannying for this guy in New Jersey, and he was like, you should apply for this job in Durham. And at the time I was like, ew, Durham. Like I didn't know anything about Durham, but I was like, I have to be in New York. Durham's in the South. That's not New York. And I was like, I don't know, I was young also. So I like was jaded, a little more jaded at least than I am now. And he kept pushing me. And for 3 months he was pushing me. And I was like, I don't know. But then finally, after 3 months, I was like, you know what? What the hell? I'll apply. It's one more job.
Yeah.
And I applied, and that week, my future boss at Deepak was in New York seeing Broadway shows. So I had an in-person interview with her, and it was actually very interesting, and the job was interesting. And they ended up flying me down to Durham and like showing me everything. And it was like, it was very funny because it was like, here's where you could get your hair cut, here's where you grocery shop. And I was like, what? Like, so they were helping me envision what my life could look
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't so bad. And like, I ended up getting a job offer in New York at the same time. It was for my dream job. Like, I literally wrote the job description. And it was, I don't know, like maybe $5,000 more than what I was being offered in Durham. But I was like, it's $5,000 in New York is nothing. Like, it's just like I'd be living at the time. I was like, I'd be living with my parents, or I'd be living in an apartment in a basement. In my head, I was like 3 hours from the city with 12 roommates, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'll do Durham. I'll give it a year. We'll see what it's like. And I loved it. I still love it. I go to Durham all the time. I have a huge community down there. And it was great. There were periods where I was trying to get to New York and it wasn't happening. And then finally, through a series of strange events that I can tell you that story if you'd like, but I ended up in New York.
Yeah. And I mean, you were with Deepak for 6 years, correct? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't
almost.
it wasn't the years
Yeah.
that you had planned.
No, because my goal or my promise to myself was like I had to give it a year because I was like I had never lived like real like I'm from New Jersey. I went to school in New York, so I was like I'm going to somewhere I know no one, I know nothing about the area, and I was like if in 3 months I'm miserable, like I don't really think that's fair. Like I need to give myself enough time to like really establish a community and like grow. And I feel like almost immediately I loved it. Like I actually have a very vivid memory of like writing a journal entry and being like, this feels easy. Like this feels like a shortcut. Like, is this real life? Because life in Durham to me is a lot more easy than life up here. Like it's just, there's just, I don't know. It's the pace of living and the quality of living. Like it's just very different. And like here, though I love it and my friends make fun of how much I love New York, like it's hard. Like just getting groceries, doing laundry, like everything is like there's more friction to do everything.
Yeah. There's an extra step.
Yeah.
There is.
Cost usually.
Well, we're thrilled that you have a community down here in North Carolina.
Yeah. It's been cool to see, like, even when I go back, like just all the new restaurants opening,
That's
new apartments, new hotels. And like my best friend is in Durham and has a house there. So like very much still connected with what's going on in Durham. And I follow the Instagram account. So I see sometimes I know things before she does. She's like, how do you know about that?
I want to get into. I had described you as one of the words that I saw all over your social media is funky. Why funky to describe yourself and your creativity and your style?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't, it's my, so when I got on Twitter and I had to make a username, it was very, like, I didn't really think about it. I was just like, funky innovator. Like, it just came to me. And it is an interesting term because funky, at least I've gotten interesting feedback. There was a professor that I was talking to once and he was like, funky sounds farty. Like, it sounds old. Like, that's not cool. And he was an old man. So I was like, I don't really know if I can trust you on what's cool. And I agree. Like, I don't know if I agree with him,
Right.
but so, anyways, but to me, what it means is like a little different, a little edgy. But it also, I use the two words together, funky and innovator or funky and innovations. And to me, that means like things that you maybe wouldn't normally put together, but like when I do, they work. So like I get some examples are like, I don't know, like wearing a skirt as a shirt or wearing a belt as a headband or like connecting to people that like on the surface you're like it doesn't make any sense, why are you connecting them, but I'm like I know something about them that will, or even just going back to the vibes, like I can tell that their vibes will like complement each other. So it's a lot about like putting things together in unique ways, and like envisioning different possibilities and different opportunities.
I love, like you said, that it's either paired with innovator or innovation. Like that's your Instagram handle as well. Like I love that those two are paired together. I want to just ask the question of, you have a full-time job with New York Roadrunners. You are a public speaker, and you're a founding member of her workplace. Why go start TZ Media when you got when you've got a list of other things that are keeping you busy at the same time?
Yeah, so you probably gathered just from the little time you've spoken to me, I don't like to sit still for very long. But actually, TZ Media, I started when I moved here, which was September of 2021, and I moved here with no job. And I was getting really nervous because I like was trying and I was getting to final rounds and just it wasn't happening. And I was like, I need to do something, like I need to have an income. And so I started it as like not a backup plan, but a little bit of a backup plan. Like if I don't land a job, like here's
Yes.
how I'm going to generate income. I'll just consult people on
Okay.
marketing and strategy and digital marketing. Um, so I started it then. I haven't been super active with it now with the things that you listed, but like I still love like consulting people that need help with their marketing or with like finding connections. Like I don't even know, you didn't mention this, but when I first moved here, I didn't have a job. So I was working in retail for a little bit, and I also was a manager of a band. And the band, like I ended up, they wanted a stylist and a videographer, and like I found them for them. And so like it's just that's what I mean by the connections. Like I know how to
Absolutely.
find, and there were people that like I knew in my network that
Yes.
could do it. And one of them actually happened to be a Broadway like dresser.
Okay.
And she dressed people on Broadway and like or I forget what her formal title was, like not props, but like wardrobe, maybe like Broadway wardrobe
Something.
person. Yeah, yeah. And but I was like, she's really cool, and she's like, I know that they're looking for like a more edgy look, and so she ended up helping them. So I don't know where I was going with that, but basically, like I love to build connections for people,
Yeah.
and like when people are like another example was a friend just sent out, he's looking for a new job. Within seconds, I was like, I know this company, I know this job. I sent it to him, and I was like, I'm not really sure if this is what you're looking for, but like, I think this could be in line. And like, he's in a completely different line of work than
Yeah.
me, different industry. And he wrote back, and he was like, this is perfect. I'm applying now. And so I'm like, that's just something I do very naturally. So that's why teasing media is because I like to do these things on the side and organically. Like I don't always have to get, I often don't get paid for it. I just enjoy like specifically the connection stuff. But the marketing strategy is more like a, another set of income potentially.
Public speaking for you. This is very daunting for a lot of people. What has made you so comfortable with public speaking? Clearly, from everything we've talked about, it's not a shock, but like, were you always interested in public speaking? What got you to go up on stage?
So the public speaking is honestly a newer thing, and I haven't really been doing it a lot. I have done it specifically when I was at Deepak. I was on the Spring Road League conference through Broadway League. I was on a panel there. I've been on a few panels for that, and I gave a social media workshop at the Durham Chamber of Commerce for like small business owners and how to use social media. So I've done stuff like that. Um, I don't know. I think I do get nervous, and I don't know, I do it anyway. I don't know if I have good advice. I got major stage fright from singing. Like I'm a singer, and like singing in front of people, it's like I have to go through this whole like I don't know, routine and like kind of talk myself down. And even to this day, I know that I sometimes stand like a brick wall. Like I don't move. Like I get so nervous. But when I'm talking, especially about something that like I'm quote unquote an expert in, like that is helpful. And I do a lot of preparation. Like I have notes and I think about what I'm going to say usually.
I've had the old trick of just imagine everybody naked in the crowd. I'm like, that doesn't work. Like you got
No, no, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just like feeling prepared, feeling comfortable.
I completely like I'll get up and I'll like black out and I'll come off stage. I'll come out of a presentation. I'll be like, how'd that go? Because I don't even remember what I said. I have no idea what just came out of my mouth when I got up there and did that.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's daunting.
Her workplace, because I saw your post on LinkedIn. I'm so excited. Can you introduce first just what her workplace is to everybody, and then why you made the decision to become a founding member of her workplace?
Yeah, so it's an awesome new community for women and non-binary people. It has a physical space in New York. It's hopefully going to have more than one, but right now it took over the former wing, which was a co-working space for women in Bryant Park. It's a beautiful space, and like it has all the furniture that was there. It's like very, it's just beautiful. The colors, like it's very feminine and like built as a place to be comfortable for women and non-binary people. Like it has like rooms for women to pump, like breast pump milk, and it has um like meeting rooms and like it's a great space. Why I got excited by it? It's funny. I think I found it through LinkedIn, and the founder posted a post that ended up going viral. And it was basically about how she didn't get into Chief, which is like a very exclusive membership. I think it's like $7,000 to be a member. And she was just really upset about it. And she was like, this needs to change. Like, there needs to be a place that's accessible to more people. And like, I'm going to do something about it. And so she started her workplace, and I went to all her like pop-up events this summer. She didn't have a physical space, but somehow she was in real estate before she did this, and so she got in touch with uh, the landlord of the former wing space, and I think like they wanted someone to use the space because it was just sitting there vacant, and so they let her use it. And she did these events that were just really special. Like she's very good at asking questions that pull out like deeper answers, and it was a lot about like empowerment and like career development. um yeah, it was neat. Like takeaway for me was there was this one woman who was really high in her career, like worked her way almost to the top, and like she wasn't bragging, but she had like 12 master's degrees, something crazy. And I was just like, what? But she was just like, I just have a thirst for knowledge. Like I just want to learn more, and I really enjoy it. And like she said something that really hit me, and it was like, a degree is better than any new dress. And I was like, I love that, because I definitely am someone that's prone to like buying shoes or dresses. And I was debating about this grad school program, and it was $75 to enter it. And I was like, I'd spend $75 on a pair of sneakers and not even like think twice about it. And I was like, why am I, but also a grad school program costs a lot more than a pair of sneakers
Yeah.
overall. But anyways, after hearing her speak, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna apply. I'll just see. I ended up getting in, and but that was just really empowering to like, because I think the other thing that was holding me back was thinking like, well, if I got this, this is all I can do. Like this, I have to be sure, like this is what I want. But I was like, no, if I decide I want to get a PhD in like 5 years from now, like I can do that too. Like, so it was just seeing like different career paths and opportunities, and even like a lot of the women on one of the panels all wanted to be in New York, but it was interesting. A lot of them were international. So their path to New York was not linear. Like they worked in Dubai and then London, and then somehow they got rerouted to New York. And that was also just inspiring, because I was like, I've never thought about working in Dubai or like London or anywhere really, because I was so dead set on New York. But I was like, wow, I guess I could work somewhere else one day if I wanted to. So that was kind of inspiring. But anyway, so when she opened the space, I wanted to be involved in any way I could.
I would love for these to be far and wide, because I think, there are so many co-working places now today, especially with such a remote world that we're in. But I think that having the the purpose for women and non-binary, or whatever it may be, like having pumping rooms like you said, or things that are very specific to moms or whatever it is extremely important, because I think sometimes it's overlooked. I think we've made great strides to get to these places up where we can support moms and a bunch of other people, but it's cool that these are popping up now and getting more traction and spreading far and wide.
Yeah, it's very cool. And like having space in New York is like a hard thing. Like not a lot of people are looking for space. And like I found an event space that I love. It's $10,000 to rent it. And I'm like, so it's just like to have a space is huge. And like that will help like build community and bring people together. And that's also part of it. It's just like the people I've met through the space have been fascinating and are very cool. And like some of them have become mentors of mine. And so that's been really neat.
I want to ask you really quickly because we've been talking about it. You're an active learner outside of doing programs and things, but like how do you keep your hunger for learning? What does that look like for you? What are you doing on a daily basis? Like when you have a topic that you're interested in, what are you doing to learn more about all these different things?
It's a great question. Google all the time. I'm kidding and not kidding, but seriously, I Google a lot.
Totally. It's funny because if I don't know how to do something, I'm like YouTube.
Yeah, no,
Let
I've
me
been
YouTube
Googling.
real
I've
quick.
been Googling a lot. But also like I'll look up courses. Like if there's something I want to learn, like I'll try and find a course on it. And I want to read more than I do. I'm currently reading a book called The Artist's Way, which is like about like kind of like a spiritual recovery esque like through creativity, and I'm loving it. Like it's been really really powerful. Like it gives you two assignments that you do. One is morning pages where you wake up and the first thing you do is you write 3 stream of consciousness pages, which sounds like a lot, but I actually spring out of bed and I'm like excited to do it, and it's like a brain dump. It's very like it just comes out. This morning it was a little harder, but usually it just comes out and I'm like, wow. And you don't have to think about punctuation. It doesn't have to flow. Like it could be like, I need to buy groceries.
Right.
I have this big deadline today. Like I love that. And then you also are supposed to take yourself on an artist date, which I've been struggling with. It's once a week, you take yourself out on a date. And the thought is like your artist self is like kind of like your inner child. And so like you nourish it by giving it what it wants, not what it thinks it should do. So like if you think you should go to an art museum, but really you want to go to see a movie, go see the movie. And it's just like about building that relationship with yourself and like feeding it with what it needs. That's just been, I don't know why that's been so hard for me. Part of it is because I'm busy. I go to events like almost every night after work on the weekends.
Yeah.
So to block time for just me is because that's the thing. Like you can't be with anyone else. It has to be by yourself. It's a little challenging, but I think I did it at least once so far. I've been doing this for like 3 weeks, and one week I was like, okay, we're going to a coffee shop and we're gonna write, and like
Cool.
that was the date.
I love that. I love that though. And I like a lot of people struggle with going out by themselves and I'm like, I will go sit somewhere, enjoy a meal and just do whatever. And it's so nice to
It
sometimes
is
not
nice.
have to
Yeah,
talk to people for
yeah. No, I enjoy it. It's just like, yeah. Oh, I think I remember what I was gonna say before.
about the public speaking.
Yeah, I don't, it just came to me, I think. But what I was gonna say is I also just started doing improv. And I've been petrified of improv for years. Like I was like, I can't. And I wanted to do it and I was just afraid. And then finally I met someone through my run club that like has been doing improv for 20 years. He's a teacher, he does it in corporate settings. And he didn't really care if I did improv or not, but I was like, you're my accountability buddy, okay? So like I have to text you when I sign up for the class. And he was like, okay, like whatever. But like it just helped me be like, he's waiting for the text.
Yes. Yes.
um, so I texted him when I signed up, and it's been great because it's not public speaking, but it's like getting comfortable
Yeah.
for me at least. Like someone when I told them they were like, "Oh, are you trying to get into acting?" And I was like, "Not at all." Like it has nothing to do with that. For me, it's about like unlearning things that I learned that are problematic. So like about making mistakes or looking stupid or looking foolish or trusting people. Like in improv, you have to trust your scene partner is going to make you look good no matter what you say. No matter how outlandish it is, they have to like yes and it. So like I don't know, there's a bear like on the top of the tree, like in a branch. They have to be like, oh yeah, I see it, like whatever it is. So that's also I think helped a little bit, just getting comfortable being in front of strangers and like sharing. And some of it is like you share your story. Some of it is real. A lot of it is made up. But I think that also has been like a good muscle to like stretch in the public speaking realm.
That is something that terrifies me is improv. I'm like, I can kind of spitball really quickly, but having to like
It's
that
scary. It is scary. But I'm like, it's teaching me one to like kind of relish in uncertainty because like some of the exercises you get up there, we had one where we were standing back to back and we had to make a face. And like the people in the audience saw we were making like or like a weird whatever. And then you turn around and you see what the other person's making a face and you have to like start the scene from there, which is so funny because like you might be like look like you're crying and they might be ecstatic with joy. And then you have to be like, so I'm a baby. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant. Like you don't say that, but like then you have to like go through that journey together. And it's I don't know, I find it really, really fun. And the class is interesting. It's very diverse. Like there's older people, younger people, um, all different career paths. Like it's an interesting mix of people, and that's been cool to see too.
I love that. I think that's there's so many different things in improv too, like you were just explaining, saying back to back. I've seen people do one word at a time and just going off of each other, and I'm like, this is hysterical, but at the same time I'm like, my mind doesn't think it can work that quick.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, there's definitely been awkward moments. Yeah, I've had moments where it's like, and also moments where I can feel myself filtering, and I'm
Okay.
like lean into what you're thinking you should do, because I'm afraid of like, well, if I be this character, that's how they're all gonna think I am. But I'm like, no, they're not. And like, what if they do? It doesn't matter. Like, do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah,
I almost want to be like, tell me when you're done because I want to hear like what you unlearned and what the experience was because that's like it's so interesting to hear that. Um and I resonate with your point of unlearning because we are taught rehearse your speech, rehearse and like stand up straight, like do all these things and we're never like just get up there and feel comfortable because I think that's part of the problem too, and that's why some of us have lean into trying to imagine the crowd naked is because we've been taught all of these things.
it's fun to do it with people too. Especially, I don't know. I think I'd have a harder time if I knew all the people in the class, but like with strangers,
Yeah,
it's neat because like
that's
you're
cool.
all uncovering things together.
Taylor, my last question for you is just what inspires you?
So many things. I like the first thing that popped in my head was everything, which is like not a great answer and also not true because obviously not everything inspires me, but a lot of things. I think other people usually.
Okay.
I think some things that I'm inspired by right now are um there's two guys actually. One is Andrew. I don't know how to say his last name, but I say Young, but it's Yeung.
Okay.
He is a product manager at Google that moved here from China and didn't know anyone. And so he built this like networking society group community like from scratch. And it was in the beginning it was kind of self-serving. He was working at Meta and he was afraid that there were going to be layoffs. And as an immigrant, if he got laid off, he'd have 60 days to find a new job. So he was like, I need to know other people in the city. So like if that happens, I have
Totally.
places to go. But now it's turned into like it's called he has a company called Andrew's Mixers.
Okay.
He hosts the biggest tech mixers in the city. I went to one this week. It was at the rooftop of the Williamsburg Hotel, and he said there were over 1,000 people there. I don't know how many people were there, but there were a lot of people, and there was like a line around the block. It's free. All of the events are sponsored. Anyway, so he's inspiring me because it's really cool the community he's building and how he's done it. Um, and just like he's lined up 195 sponsors already, which is like also unbelievable to me. Like people just want to be there because he pulls some of the biggest and brightest leaders in tech. So like founders, investors, people that are looking for jobs, entrepreneurs, like just really interesting people. And I met some really interesting people at that. And then another one is another thing, I guess conferences, which
Okay.
sounds weird, but I get so
I love
energized by
conferences.
conferences. Like when I went to the Broadway Spring Road League conference, I
Yeah.
got to go I think 2 or 3 times. Every time I was like
Yeah.
so inspired. Like I could wake up super early and stay up super late, which I don't recommend doing, but I was just like so energized because like I was waking up early to like do my work for Deepak, then go to all the sessions, then you go out to a Broadway show, then you see it, then you go to an after party, and you're just like
Go,
running,
go,
running.
go,
But
go.
I would come back with so many new ideas and so many new things that we could try. And so recently I went to a conference by B&H, which is like a huge video and photo store up here. It
Yep.
was their 50th anniversary, and I spent like 2 days in this like creator lounge. So it was a space for where I'm working on launching our first ever influencer program at my current job. So I wanted to just learn about the
Yes.
like creator economy and creator space more than what I already know.
Yeah.
And I met such interesting people at that conference. I met this guy who is a photographer and digital artist, but he was a software engineer before that. And
Okay.
so just seeing his transition has been really fun to be a part of.
I was
I
following along on your LinkedIn and seeing your post from the event.
yeah,
It was cool to see you making those connections right there on LinkedIn. I was like, it was so fun to watch.
thank you. It was fun to experience. I just there were so many interesting people there, and like one more inspiring than the next. So I guess conferences and people
Love
are
that.
two things that really inspire me.
When you said the point about conferences and about just coming back with new ideas, that's what I love too about conferences because I'm like, they're doing something cool, but how can I go put a new flavor into it? You know what I mean? Like how can I go change it? Like funky innovation, funky innovator. Like how can you take that and go put your own flavor on it? That's what I love that about conferences too. I come back with so many ideas and so many things that I want to go do. I love hearing all the people speak too. I'm like, I just want to sit here and soak up everything you're about to stand up there and talk about for the next hour.
Yeah, I met such the speakers were also really impressive and amazing, and
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yes, yes. Taylor, I can't thank you enough once again for joining me late on this Friday, and taking the time and just let me dive into your marketing mind and all the cool shit you get to do on a pretty weekly and daily basis. So I just appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been really fun
Yeah.
and good to talk.
Yes, absolutely. And if you guys do not follow Taylor, please go follow her Instagram, her LinkedIn. Like I said, you can watch her making connections and at all these different events and part of these communities yourself on her LinkedIn. But just Taylor, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.